In our last episode, we took care of our clutch problems by replacing the master cylinder and the slave cylinder. We enlisted the help of a seasoned mechanic to help us bleed the clutch, clean the wheels, taped off the rims, put on a couple coats of black paint, added a red pinstripe, and the Corolla moved under its own power for the first time in years. The interior of the Corolla has been ridden hard and put away wet. It lets the whole car down. Let's do something about it and replace the door cards. It isn't a particularly tough project, but it should pay off huge in visual appeal. I don't know if we'll be putting the tired armrests back on the doors, but we'll remove them carefully just in case. Or maybe they'll become the object of someone's affection on eBay. Bag 'em and tag 'em. And once again, I have to be really careful because the plastic bits are old and frail. Over time, the door panel is twisted and popped the retainers off. Let's pop the rest of them off and free the door panel from the door. Oops, forgot the window crank. They make a tool just for this job. It pops the retaining ring off and you can slip the crank right off the shaft? Who writes this stuff? Now, with all that stuff out of the way, we can just lift the door panel off the door. Let's get the door panel stripped down. We can start with removing the plastic retainers. These look reusable, so we'll bag them and set them aside. The door pocket is the next thing to come off. It's screwed in from the back side of the door panel with 4 screws. Put the screws back in the pocket and set it aside. It's a little beat up, but we'll keep it. To get the door cap off the door card, we have to bend up these industrial staple looking things. Then the cap should pull away from the card. This really makes recovering everything a lot easier. We can peel the cloth and vinyl off the back side of the door panel. The staples pull right off with the material. The material and the bare door card will be used as patterns for our new door card. Before we can remove the vinyl from the door cap, we have to remove what's left of the window scraper. Some more of those staple looking things. This is just like the door card. Peel the vinyl off the back, then pull it off the front. The door card backing board was crumbling while the vinyl was being removed. It had to be replaced. All I can say at this point is that plans change rapidly and mistakes were made. Plan A was to replace the door cards with cardboard backing board. It's probably the same strength and weight as the original material. It's easy to cut, and this is how it's been done for decades. But as the cardboard was being marked for cutting, I realized that the material will eventually suffer the same fate as what just came off the door. The first time it gets wet, it'll pucker and deform, and the new door cards will look as bad as the originals. I don't want to put 20 hours into rebuilding the door cards and have to do the same job over again in 5 years. So what to do? So plan B is fiberglass. What's left of the original backing board will need to be as clean as possible and somewhat resemble its original shape. Get the rest of the foam off the board. A plastic scraper comes in handy. If fiberglass is the road you want to go down, you can't spend too much time prepping the old card before you start laying up the material. A vacuum gets the rest of the small bits off the working surface. As you can see, the rear edge of the backer board is rolled up and it just won't stay flat. I tried to fix it several times without luck. It needs something to keep it flat, like a board. Break out the wife's hot glue gun. The hot glue gun will also help us repair the other bits of the backing board that have cracked and some that have even broken off. The front of the backer board sits just proud of the center section. It will need to be elevated to retain the original shape while fiberglassing. The backer board is covered with a layer of masking tape so the fiberglass will release from it. If you try this, test out your tape first to make sure the fiberglass releases easily. Lay out the cloth on the backer board. Have all your layers cut and ready to go. You have to do this all at one time because fiberglass will not stick to itself after it sets up without sanding. And that's just another step to slow down the progress. Mix up the resin according to the instructions. You should have a good idea of how much hardener to use from your tape test. I mixed mine exactly to the instructions as it gave me a long working time. While I was saturating the fiberglass cloth, I noticed that the top of the fiberglass was nowhere near smooth enough to cover with our upholstery material. I could use this fiberglass piece as a negative mold and then use the backside to create a positive backer board, but the tape is not completely smooth and would require a lot of filling and sanding. That is way too much work, and I don't want to be out here in the garage for hours doing this because fiberglass and Bondo are really smelly and the noise of the cicadas is driving me crazy. This brings us to Plan C. I spent a couple days online looking for ABS sheets. Seems that COVID has also impacted the production of ABS resins, and most places were out of stock. I finally found a place that could ship me 2 sheets of 2 foot by 4 foot, 1/8 inch ABS plastic. I want to line this bottom edge up, right?
Yeah.
And if I line that bottom edge up, that's one cut we don't have to make. Plant the old backer board upside down onto the back side of the ABS. Using a silver Sharpie, draw the outline of the backer board onto the ABS.
Ah, yeah, you can actually see a mark on there now.
Trace out all the holes that need to be cut into the new ABS backer board. The new board will need a hole for the door latch and the window winder at a minimum. If the original interior door handle is going to be put back on, now is the time to trace those holes as well. Trace out all the holes for the door panel retainer clips. Mark the slots that the big staple things came out of so they can be cut out later. The slots can be double checked before making the actual cuts. Remove the clamps and set the original backer board aside in a safe place. Because the original backer board was falling apart, some of the missing lines need to be traced in with the aid of a straight edge.
That shows the deformation of that material.
Did it have any formation to begin with?
No, I'm sure there was a formation somewhere.
It left about 15 years ago. To make the cuts in the ABS, use a jigsaw with a fine-tooth blade. Cut out the shape of the new backer board first, so the piece is smaller and easier to work with. Take your time, keep the blade speed to a minimum or the plastic will melt and the cut will fill back in. Keep the edge well supported to avoid the plastic chattering up and down. About a mile from the wrench mine, someone just took out a power pole with their car. The forces of the universe have lined up against getting these door cards done today. so why fight it?
That's not
Pizza
us.
time. The power was out for a while, so the next day we were back at it. The slots that the door panel retainers sit in are keyhole-shaped cutouts with some extra space for adjustment on one end. To me it looks like a hole and a smaller hole with a slot connecting them. So I'll drill the 2 holes and use the jigsaw to cut the slot between them. Test fit the retainers in the slots. If any are too tight, go back and trim a little more. All of the retainers are brittle. I was lucky enough to find a source for replacements. Grab the old sockets and yank them out. Press the new socket in and tap it home with a mallet. Damn it. Populate the new backer board with our shiny new retainers. Pop them in the big hole, then slide them over to the smaller hole. Time for a test fit. Align the backer board retainers with the door sockets and press them in. Okay, let's cover the new door panel with the material.
Don't you think we should drill the holes for that other thing first?
Oh yeah, I forgot.